Hey there, just a quick message before you tune into the next episode. This is B. Wendy Jackson. Just a couple of changes. If you're interested in my books, I have two resources available on Amazon. You can search for me for the books at B. Wendy Bob. Two books will come up. They are amazing. They will help you experience hope and healing. And then there's an Empower to Empower You podcast, workbook or reflection workbook based on the podcast. As you listen to certain episodes, you can engage in deeper reflection. I really hope that those resources are going to add value to your lives, and I know that they will. If you're interested in services or how to connect with me, you can visit my new website. I have a new website, y'all. Oh my gosh. You can visit the new website, Against All Odds, P as in Paul, C as in Charlie, S as in Snake.com. Against All Odds, PCS.com. There you can subscribe to the newsletter. And you can also visit visit the website to learn how you can be a guest on the podcast, learn about the services that we have to offer, and many more. If you want to email me, you can email me at hello at against all odds. That's AGAIN as in Nancy, S as in Sam, TALLOD as in dog, D as in dog, S as in Sam, P as in Paul, C as in Charlie, S as in Sam or Snake.com. Hello at against all odds, PCS.com. Or you can email me at bwendyjacksonlcsw at outlook.com. See you later. Talk to you soon. Stay empowered. Enjoy the next episode. Hello, everyone. This is B. Wendy Jackson, your lovely host of the Empower to Empower You podcast. I am so glad to be here after recovering from the last couple of weeks of just illness and sickness and no voice. I'm so glad to be here. So if my voice sounds a little different today, just know that I'm still recovering and nurturing it with some tea and some water. And I may slow down a little bit just to make sure that I don't have to interrupt our recording with coughing or anything like that. But I'm so glad to be here. So if you're tuning in for the first time, welcome to the Empower to Empower You podcast. The Empower to Empower You podcast is about all things Jesus Christ, mental health, anything to help to encourage you, empower you, inspire you. All podcasts are filled with insight, information, and inspiration. And I hope that by the end of this recording, that you want more of it. And so feel free to make a rating, rate the podcast wherever you're listening, or share it with somebody. I am so excited to share this space with a guest today. My guest is Julie Bresette. Now, Julie Bresette is a young adult fiction author, and she writes stories focused on mental illness and mental health. And so I want to welcome Julie. I'm going to let her kind of share more about her book later on in the conversation. But welcome, Julie, to the podcast today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. So today we're going to talk, the topic for today's podcast, and I love this topic, is moving past pain and heartbreak. And I think that that is such a relevant topic. By the time this airs, March is not only a month. Well, it's known as Social Work Awareness Month, but there's always something that has an awareness. I think every day is an opportunity to be aware of mental health awareness, right? And how mental health affects, even if there is a month for that, which is May, but every day we need to be aware of how mental health. And so before we get into and dive into our conversation, I love to ask the question, what's life-giving for you this season?
Lately it's definitely been any sunshine I can get. Winter is tough. I suffer from seasonal affective disorder, and so
Mm,
any day that the sun is shining is absolutely life-giving. I
I
love it.
love that. What do you get to do in the sunshine, when the sun shines?
I try to take walks, long
Yeah,
walks. Yeah,
yes.
if the weather permits, if it's not too cold, I'm out walking for miles. So yeah,
I love,
love it.
yeah, I love walking. I can relate to you on that. Julie, why did you become an author?
It was kind of not planned. In my late 30s, I was feeling very restless and I
Mm,
had needed to do something. I'd been a stay-at-home mom for, gosh, a long time at that point. And I thought maybe I should write a book. And so I asked my therapist at the time, what do you think about that? And she emphatically said, yes, write the book. And so I started writing. And I was surprised that everything I've written kind of came from a teenage viewpoint. And so that's kind of just been what I write is young adult fiction.
I love that. I love that. Have you found that to be a way, an outlet for you based on your own experiences?
Absolutely. I definitely was aware that I had depression when I was a teenager. There
Mm,
wasn't a lot of resources or support available at that time, but
mm,
that's really where my depression started to get severe. And so I think a lot of my life experience comes from depressive episodes I had as a teenager. So yeah, I'm still always working through that,
yeah, yeah,
especially through my writing.
sure, sure. And do you have teenagers now?
Yes. I actually only have one teenager left. My oldest is 22, and I have a 20-year-old and then almost 17-year-old. So,
Wow.
yeah.
I'm curious, how has the book and you kind of using writing as an outlet, almost cathartic in a way, how have you found that to help sharing that in parenting?
Well, it's helped a lot, especially my daughter. When I was writing What Blooms from Ash, she was also suffering from depression, and it was
Oh,
getting pretty severe.
yeah.
And when I took a break from the book for a little bit, actually, some of her life experience helped to inspire where I took the story. And so, yeah, it's helped all of us. I think, my two oldest children have read the book and they completely relate to what's going on, unfortunately, partly because of their own life. And, I'm their mom and we're open about mental health and they knew what I went through, what I go through still. And so, yeah, it was painful, but also very helpful for us to go through that together.
Yeah. Well, let me just commend you. I love the fact that this book has not only opened a door for you to write about your experience, but also to share that with people. And what a gift to your children to have the space and the safe space to be vulnerable and have conversations about mental health within your family. That is such a gift. And so many families need that and lack that. So I want to thank you and commend you for doing that.
Yeah, it kind of started out as me, being open with my husband, and then as I saw my kids maybe starting to struggle, say, "Hey, here's what I felt." But yeah, you're absolutely right. It has become a safe space. Some of the things my daughter went through, I think if she thought I was some perfect person who didn't have any problems,
Mm,
things would have ended very differently for her when she was in high school. I don't think it would have had the happier ending that she ended up having had she
wow.
not known that she can come to me with anything. I totally understand what she's going through. So
Yeah.
yeah, sharing your struggles is very important.
That is so huge, Julie. Wow, that's so huge. What role has writing served in your life in other areas? For example, I know we just mentioned that it has been an outlet. Um,
Hmm.
I don't even want to, I would hate to even think of it as a hobby because it's so purposeful, right? But what
Right.
role has it?
Yeah, I don't see writing as a hobby. It's not, it's actually very difficult. I don't want to sugarcoat it. Writing is hard, but I feel like a weight's taken off when I do it. And, it kind of becomes this space, 'cause since I write fiction, anything can happen. I can twist a story and make it anything I want, and you can't do that in real life. And even though I try to make my books semi-realistic, because mental health doesn't always have a happy ending and you can't always change your outcome. But
Right.
it is so nice to be able to have like this kind of play area where I can work it out and
Absolutely.
make it whatever I want.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's very helpful.
I totally agree with you from one author to another. So talk a little bit about, I'm gonna kind of redirect the conversation a little bit because I want to create space for you to just give maybe a 3-minute overview of what blooms from ash, your book. What is it about?
So I wrote it from the first person perspective of two teenagers because I felt like I couldn't write it from looking at them. It had to be through them. And the first main character, Ashlyn, when it starts out, you find her in a place where she doesn't know how she got there. She's suffering from amnesia. She doesn't know how long she's been there. But the overriding theme is she wants to die. She wants her life to end, even though she doesn't remember anything else. And she's kind of just trying to make it day by day. What is today? You're just putting one foot in front of the other. And then Micah enters her life. And he's a very positive person. He's completely the opposite, but he's also dealing with his own life and death struggle. And they kind of end up leaning on each other without meaning to, and start forming a friendship. And it's kind of a romantic friendship, although it doesn't really turn into anything fully romantic. And to kind of pass the time, he starts creating a fairy tale, just winging it. And it becomes this place where the two of them, kind of like I do with my books, it becomes a place where the two of them can change the narrative. They can make it what they want. And despite all the horrible things that are going on in their life, it's this special space for the two of them to kind of work it out. And I without giving away the ending, um, I knew when I started to write this book, I wanted to write about depression, but I didn't want it to have a nice and neat, happy ending. So it's not a super happy ending because when you're dealing with depression, it's never just that. There's always life continues and other heartbreak, grieving, things change that are completely out of your control. And I wanted the reader to be inspired that no matter what life is throwing at you, if you just put one foot in front of the other, do the smallest possible thing you can do, you can see what's on the other side of this horrible thing. And
Wow.
so that was really, that's really what is happening. Ashlyn is going through healing. Micah is trying to find healing in his own life. And no matter what, their friendship endures and
Yeah,
they keep trying to move forward.
I love that because relationship can be such um and I say that carefully, it is such a powerful tool for healing.
Absolutely.
On the flip side, I believe that's why the enemy attacks relationship because for some people, it's a source of hurt and pain. But it's such a powerful place, has such a powerful place in our lives. And so even in this book, you're capturing the relationship between the two that's probably becoming a saving grace for Ashlyn to kind of
Yes,
navigate her
absolutely.
whole.
It's
Yeah,
it saves her life. It
yeah,
absolutely saves her life.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think you just said this. I was going to ask you, what is the key message you want people to get? And I heard you say that you want for people, the readers, to be inspired that no matter how painful, how difficult, how tragic, how heartbreaking, um, as we talk about moving past pain, and I hate to even say moving past pain, but it's almost moving through the pain.
Yes. And you
But it
that
really
takes
comes,
a lot of courage to be able to
that's
do that. That is not
absolutely.
easy.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, yeah. So the message I'm hearing is, hey, I may be moving through this. I don't know if I'll get past it, but while I'm moving through it, it does get easier. I've just got to do the next thing, right?
Yes. And kind of with the title, What Blooms from Ash, it's kind of, and for me it was like no matter how bad it seems, even if you feel like your life has burned down, there's nothing left but ashes, something beautiful can come from that. Something can bloom from that. And,
Yeah,
but it's a journey. It doesn't happen overnight and it's not easy,
yeah,
but it does happen.
absolutely. What is there anything else you want people to get from your book?
Um, that it's okay if you aren't okay.
Yeah,
I see you. I think a lot of times people think they have to be on the other side as soon as possible. And that doesn't always happen,
Yeah.
or it takes a really long time. And it's okay to be in that space where you are healing for as long as it takes. And that's okay.
Absolutely. You just said something that's very profound. There are people that rush the process, right? Like, because it doesn't feel good to be in that space of the not being okay.
Right.
And sometimes when you're in that space, you are almost riddled with not only your own expectations for yourself to get to the other side, but also the perceptions and the assumptions and the judgments of others, right?
Absolutely. And I feel like that stigma is one of the worst parts of mental illness,
Yeah.
is that you feel like you shouldn't be like this and everybody else is trying to tell you all this advice that really isn't always helpful. And
Mhm.
sometimes you just have to be in it. And that is, nobody wants to hear that. Everybody always wants you to be better right now. And it doesn't always work like that. And and that stigma that comes along with it is, it's so painful and halting. I think it halts the healing process, because then you're not only dealing with the illness, you're dealing with what's wrong with me. Why can't I get better? And it has kind of a rippling effect to the people around you.
And it's the
Yeah.
wrong question. It's not what's wrong, it's what happened.
Yes, a lot of times, yeah.
What happened? Hmm.
Hmm.
You mentioned therapy. What's been the most helpful part of therapy for this journey for you?
Um, I think a lot of it was just knowing that someone who is trained knows how to help me.
Yeah.
I went, in my teenage years, I was really relying on my parents to help, and they were not equipped to do that at all. And that really made it a lot worse for me. And so when I finally did get with a licensed therapist, it was huge, somebody who actually asks the right questions, has the right help and support and resources. And yeah, that's been pretty life-changing to have a regular therapist.
That's awesome. If you were to take some time to encourage somebody, maybe they've tried to look for a therapist and they haven't been, so sorry about that, and they haven't been successful, or I don't know why my alarm is going off, but we're gonna keep going on. But they haven't been successful for whatever the reason is. What questions may you suggest that a person ask? Normally there's a consultation. What would you suggest that a person ask to be able to
Um,
find a therapist?
it's kind of funny. I have seen three different therapists over the past 10-ish years.
Mhm.
And sometimes it takes a while to find the right one. And again, that is that courage and bravery of keeping going. If you didn't find the right one, that doesn't mean there isn't anyone. Um, I sometimes my current therapist, I Googled exactly what I wanted. Therapist near me, and then I put all the keywords, and she came up. And then again, I had the consultation, like you said. And one thing I asked her, and I don't know if any of your audience will relate to this, but she said, "Is there anything you want to ask me?" And I said, "Yeah, do you believe in magic?" And she said, "Yes." Because I need someone who's open-minded enough to know that a miracle can happen, that something magical can happen, because I don't want to be stuck here forever, stuck in this hole that I'm in. And she said, "The fact that you asked that question means that I know we're going to be a good fit." Because someone else might have said, "No, this is a very logical, reasonable thing we're going to do. Of course, there's no magic." And me being a fiction author, I needed the magic. So that was very helpful. That's a strange question that I think no one's ever asked her before, but my
Mhm.
past therapist didn't believe in that different things can happen. And I don't know. I needed to believe that.
Yeah. So you needed to believe. So I think we need to clarify, just because we have people that may be listening from different, backgrounds, from different ethnicities, from different places. And of course, this is a Christian based podcast. So for Christians who are listening, right, or even for us who are, I believe you're a believer as well,
Hmm.
magic kind of can bring like a whoop. What are we talking about
Yeah, I'm
here?
not expecting someone to do a spell or a ritual or anything like that.
Yeah.
That's not what I mean. I need to know that something special can happen out of this. Um, I I just I could it couldn't be a clinical
Yeah.
thing for me
Yeah.
because this was like a, it's a mental illness is this multifaceted, complicated thing, and I didn't want it to be do this workbook, read this book. I needed something else.
Specifically
So yeah,
curated for you. You needed
pardon?
some you needed something specifically curated for you.
Yes,
You
exactly.
know,
And that's what a therapist should do. You should find someone who can work with your individual special self.
absolutely. Thank you for clarifying that. I just wanted to make sure because I don't want people to be like, wait a second, B Wendy is having a podcast talking about magic. You know, somebody could like literally
Yeah,
they could miss everything that you, all the gems that you just said, and somebody could like hang on to that one word, like, oh no, she's talking about
yeah.
magic.
I
I
know
want,
there are people that are very triggered by that word,
yeah,
and I can't find a like quote unquote Christian approved word for it other than miraculous, which is of course what a magic, that's
yeah,
all tied into the same. There's no explanation for it. There's no, so yeah, I needed something miraculous to happen in therapy.
absolutely. I got you. Thank you for
Okay.
clarifying that. So let's take a time. You know, if you could encourage somebody as we try to wrap up the conversation, who might be struggling with depression, who is struggling with mental illness, maybe even feels lonely or suicidal, what would you say to them right now? How would you encourage them?
First and foremost, if you're suicidal, take advantage of the National Suicide Hotline. You can text or call 988. It's very simple. I actually know someone who took advantage of that hotline, and the hotline takes it very seriously. They called me as a trusted friend to help this person. And so they will reach out and do whatever it takes to save a life. And as far as reaching out, like we talked about earlier, I encourage people to share their struggle. It has saved my life. It saved my daughter's life. Once someone knows that you're a safe person to come to, you understand, they're more likely to talk to you. And keeping it all inside and silent, that is deadly. Um, Try to find someone you trust, even if you're just Googling a therapist, even if you're calling the helpline. Um, really reach out because it absolutely saves lives.
Absolutely. Do not suffer in silence. Absolutely.
Do not, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Julie. How can people connect with you? Where is your book sold? Take a minute to kind of go over that.
Okay.
Oh,
I post pretty regularly on Instagram. You can find me at Julie Bresette. The spelling is JulieBressette. I'm also on Facebook. I have a website, juliebresette.com. There are links, of course, to my socials on there and to the books and things. And my books are sold in both paperback and ebook form on Amazon.
wonderful. Wonderful. Well, is there anything, Julie, that I didn't get to ask you that you feel compelled to share in this moment?
One thing I'd like to talk about is the title of the book, if possible.
Yeah.
It's based on a couple of different things. One of them is Isaiah 61:3. We're kind of paraphrasing. It's those who grieve will be given beauty for ashes. That's a biblical promise that you can count on. And also in a more practical term, I'm a student of history, and during and after World War One, the ravaged battlefields suddenly had all of these poppies blooming that wouldn't have not bloomed had it not been for the violence that had occurred on that land. And so these are like real things you can look to say, if it happened there, if there's this promise that maybe something beautiful can come out of my pain as well. And I want everybody to remember that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. Well, I can spend another 30 minutes with you. But of course, we don't have the extra 30 minutes. But I thank you so much for joining the conversation with me and just your heart for mental health. I know even you are a testament to something beautiful that blooms from your own ash, right? From your own experiences, and you're sharing it with others and sharing it with your children. And by sharing it with your children, you shift their generation because they will know that mom talked to us about mental health, that when they have their own children and their own families, this generation will continue to be impacted. So you're even building a legacy from this. I don't even know if you thought about that this just deciding to write would be such a huge deal, would make such a big deal and a big dent, and disrupt the patterns of, unhealthy emotional health, if you will, right? And this suppression of emotions and not being able to share your story and the journey of mental health. So again, I want to say thank you again, Julie, for being here. I want those of you who are listening, listen, tune into this author, tune into her IG page. I'll put the information on the show notes. Get her books, connect with her, that she can also be a resource. She's sharing this with her children and creating a safe space with her kids, which is huge. And so I just really want to encourage you to connect with her. And thank you again for listening. I want you to be empowered, be encouraged. Have a wonderful day on purpose. This is B. Wendy Jackson. I'll be back next time with another empowering episode. Bye-bye for now.